the executive director for the CART Fund, is with us today. Tiffany is an incredible person. When Allison canceled on Wednesday, we were really kind of pulling our hair out. What are we going to do for a program? And I just sent Tiffany a quick message and said, hey, if you're available, you can present virtually if you want, that's fine. But she said, nope, her calendar was clear. She was able to drive up from Spartanburg again, which I am very grateful for. But Tiffany is an extraordinary person. She is a Rotarian with a lot of passion. I don't know if you had an opportunity to read her bio, but I'm going to read this for you anyway. She's an award-winning keynote speaker, commercial spokesperson, sideline reporter, and television personality who resides in Spartanburg, South Carolina. She is a solopreneur who works as an estate liquidator for designer fashions, unique collectibles, and luxury decorations throughout her eBay store. She accepted the position of CART, Executive Director for CART in May of 2022 after serving on the board as the Vice President of Public Image for 4 years. She's past president of the Hendersonville Four Seasons Rotary Club, a Paul Harris Fellow +3. She has served Rotary District 7670 as District Secretary, Public Image Chair, Membership Chair, District Conference Chair 5 times. We're going to keep doing it until we get it right, Tiffany. And Assistant Governor 1 more. And she was District Governor from 2019 to 2020. So she has served on various Zone 33, 34 committees, including Chair of the Emerging Leaders Program in 2021 and as an Innovative Clubs advocate. She was selected to lead breakout sessions at the 2015 and 2017 Rotary International Conventions in Brazil and Atlanta, and has presented training sessions and keynotes to more than 300 other Rotary clubs, district conferences, pets, trainings, and seminars around the United States. Now, the fun facts. If you didn't read these are hilarious. She says she has OCD, which is obsessive Christmas disorder. She has 16 plus Christmas trees decorated in various themes each year. She once made the not so top 10 on ESPN after being run over by a football player on the sidelines during a live broadcast in 2013. She won Talent Award in the 1991 Miss South Carolina pageant as Miss Spartanburg, playing doodle and banjos on the flute. And the thing that I like most about her is she is known for her extensive shoe collection, including personalized rhinestone Rotary, Geek and Rotary themed shoes.
Which she is not wearing.
Got to wear.
Got to wear, but you know what? You glow without your shoes. So we're just so happy to have you here, Tiffany. And thank you again for being here.
Thank you. So I'm guessing the folks online are not going to be able to see me, right? Because it's filming to you.
Sure.
I mean, but hopefully you can hear me. So I don't know, but we'll see. Okay. So I'll just
If not, are we recording, Jenny?
Yes.
Okay.
to you. I guess you have to forward the slides too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just kind of
Give you a nod.
how about that? Okay, perfect. So thank you guys.
Pay attention, right?
That's all right, yes. I'll go, wake up. Thank you guys so much for the opportunity to be here and to give you a quick update on the CART Fund. And listen, I will do anything for Kevin Hendrick. I know y'all probably feel the same way, right? He reminds me a lot of myself and my club. I come from a smaller club. And when I was preparing to be district governor, I did everything. You know, I was always in charge of everything in my club and doing so many things, as you heard, in our district. And then all of a sudden they said, well, what are we gonna do when you're gone for the next 3 years while you're district governor? I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Where do you think I'm going? And I was traveling a lot, but my club meets on Monday evenings. We call it the happiest hour in Rotary. And so I was still there. To this day, I still do our weekly newsletter every Sunday night. Doesn't matter where in the country I am traveling or speaking. I'm sitting in front of my computer on Sunday doing our weekly newsletter. But I love Rotary. I love what it stands for. Courtney, I'm so excited that you're here. And to hear that you've visited a few other clubs, you have a little bit of an idea of who we are and what we do. And I hope that today you'll learn something new that we're involved in as well. It's not new to us, but maybe new to you. So thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit. On your tables are some dice. So everybody grab a die. We're not playing a game or anything. Oh, here. Here's one for Jenny. So I'll leave extras for you guys at home. Because I call this presentation the power of one and how one person can truly make a difference. And so I thought that we would go through the die a little bit at a time, but we're gonna start with this quote from Gandhi. Maybe. There it is. I love this quote. It doesn't have anything to do with heart or Alzheimer's, but it says the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. And to me, that's the epitome of what Rotary is all about. And I love that quote. I love the fact that that's what we get to do. So we're going to talk about the power of one today. And we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about the fact that in my club and then in my district, and then somehow now in all of our districts and our zones, the 4 most dreaded words are when Tiffany Erwin says, I have an idea. People get really nervous for some reason. And the reality is it's okay to have a crazy idea every once in a while and try something new. Because quite honestly, if the man on the left, Paul Harris, had not had this crazy idea in 1905 to invite 4 of his friends to lunch and to rotate to a different office every week, then we wouldn't have the organization that we have today of 1.4 million people around the globe who are changing lives and creating lasting change. And so it's okay to have a crazy idea every once in a while. On the right, that gentleman is the late Roger Ackerman. He is the originator and the starter and founder of the CART Fund. And he had this crazy idea in his little Rotary Club in Sumter, South Carolina, that maybe he was going through this thing where his mother-in-law had been diagnosed with Alzheimer's and was going downhill pretty quickly. And he was having to deal with that. And he had this crazy idea that if he put a little blue bucket in the center of the table at the Sumter Rotary Club on Monday, and every week, if he just asked his friends to throw their spare change into the bucket, then maybe, somehow, someday, some way, we can help find a cure for Alzheimer's. That was in 1995. To this day, Rotarians just like you have given away more than $11 million in research, all because one person had a crazy idea to start collecting funds for Alzheimer's. Now, a lot of people ask us, so when I think of the power of one, I think of one person and how one person can truly make a difference. But people say to me all the time, yeah, but are you really part of Rotary? We don't get credit with the Paul Harris Society or the Rotary Foundation. Listen, we are a separate 501c3 nonprofit organization, just like the Children's Hospital, just like the school foundation that you may give to, just like the Boys and Girls Club, just like all these other organizations that are in your community that you support. And I always tell people that we're not here to compete with the Rotary Foundation. We're not here to compete with all of the other local nonprofits that are so important to the sustainability of your community. We're here in addition to those because there are people out there who are passionate about this cause. Many people have heard the story, you guys may not have, that my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's. My mother and I did everything together. We were very, very close. And I remember the day that she looked at me and said, why do you want to hang out with me today? Wouldn't you rather be with your family or your own mother? It was Mother's Day Sunday that she said that to me. It was like a knife to my gut. But you see, I also remember the day that she looked at me and said, now what grade are you in high school? And I thought, oh, I look so young today. You have to take those small wins wherever you can get them with this disease. And we are really fortunate because CART is one of the founding members of the Alzheimer's Dementia Rotary Action Group called ADRAG. And that means that we are a part of Rotary in some form or fashion. And we're supported by Rotary, even though we're a separate 501c3 organization. We are not a Rotary International partner. So we've gone through this entire branding campaign this past year. We have a new logo, we have a new website, we have new programs, and you're going to be seeing new buckets coming out as well because they no longer will have the Rotary cog on them. We're not a Rotary International partner. We can be a partner of the Rotary Club of Dilworth South. We can be a partner of Rotary District 7680. But we're not a partner of Rotary International. And that's not a bad thing. That means that we are a separate organization that is supported by currently more than 1,000 Rotary clubs and 40 districts now. So it's an incredible opportunity for us to remember that one person can have a crazy idea and truly make a difference. And to this day, we still live by the original premise of Roger Ackerman. which was that 100% of every dollar you donate, every dime, every penny that you donate goes directly to research. And we've been able to continue that, which is very unheard of in the nonprofit world. But we're able to do that with some designated gifts for operating expenses, with some investment plans that we're working on now, and minimal cost for operating. So we're very excited about that. So when you think about the one, remember that one person can truly make a difference. When you think about the two on your die, I want to talk about 2 ways to give. Now let me be clear. These little blue buckets are never going away. They're our signature. That's what people expect of us. I love walking into a club and hearing people collecting. It's great. But the reality is, a lot of people don't carry change in their pockets anymore, right? A lot of people don't even carry dollar bills anymore. But there are a lot of other ways that some clubs donate, from giving cups or jars to each of their members to take home and allowing them to collect their spare change on the nightstand or in their car, and then maybe even bringing them in quarterly and having the coin dropped into a big Lowe's bucket. And Lowe's is right around the corner for you guys, right? And your home office is close. So it's something that's very visual. If once a quarter, or you have everybody bring in their coins and dump them in there, and then you can make a big donation. Lots of clubs collect aluminum cans at their fundraisers and events, or if they're picking up trash and they turn those in for money. I will admit, it takes a lot of aluminum to make some money there. My club does this. I just got the email yesterday from the gentleman that turned in the cans. There were several garbage bags full of cans. And he emailed me to say that he got $4.28. I was like, well, whatever, every little bit helps, right? But some clubs put these clear acrylic boxes out in the communities, in businesses or restaurants, and they collect funds, and they go out on a regular basis and bring them in. And then some clubs do things like special fundraisers to recognize members. I told my club a few years ago that I had this crazy idea. I wanted to do an additional fundraiser for CART as a way to honor my mom. And my club, as I mentioned earlier, they're pretty much like, whatever you want to do, Tiffany, we'll support you. They're very good about that. But so everybody was doing a 5K or a 10K or a golf tournament or whatever. So we did the area's first 0K. It's all the fun without the rum. And so I had these stickers made that say 0.0. There's one on the back of my car. You blow the starting horn. My husband is a track and football coach, so he blows the starting horn and we race to the bar. It's a great event. But it just goes to prove there's a lot of other ways. But if you look also on here, now that's my phone ringing. Sorry about that. There's a website. Oh, yep, right there. I don't know what it's doing, but okay.
Wow.
Go back one more. Go back one more. At the bottom here, it says mycartfund.org. So this is an online donor portal that we created. We partnered with DAC-TV in the fall of 2019, which was the year I was governor, and I happened to be serving as vice president of public image on his board back then. And we partnered with them to create us an online donor portal so that people could make contributions online, just like we do to everyone else. Cancer Society, Alzheimer's Association, the Rotary Foundation, the YMCA, our United Way, we all do donations online on a regular basis. And we thought it was time for us to do that. So we rolled that out in February of 2020. Do you guys remember what happened in March of 2020? I was governor. I remember it well. Beth Trotter was my governor classmate that year. And these little blue buckets were stuck in offices, and trunks of cars, and restaurants, and cabinets, and no one was giving to the CART fund. But we had just rolled out an online donor portal. It was perfect timing for us. And we were able to continue collecting funds from clubs and from individuals. So today we have created a new program. We started it in September or August of last year. It's a recurring giving program. And we named it in memory of our founder, Roger Ackerman. It's called the Roger Ackerman Circle. And so it's very similar to what we do as members of the Paul Harris Society or recurring donors for the Rotary Foundation. A minimum gift of $5 a month is all it takes to become a member of the Roger Ackerman Circle. We have a special pin that we give out, because you know us Rotarians, we love our pins, right? And it's going to be $15 a quarter or $60 a year. And we are already up to over 135 annual recurring donors, either monthly, quarterly, or annually. And so we're excited about that because it does several things. It builds loyalty to us. It helps increase our fundraising. It brings awareness to what we're doing. And hopefully it also gives us an opportunity to say thank you to people more often as well. Because I believe that people are very passionate about this and we have to give them every opportunity that we can. So I'm going to encourage you guys to think about ways that you can become members of the Roger Ackerman Society. So when you look at the 3 on your die, I want to tell you about the top 3 grant recipients. And you may not be aware, we just had the annual meeting, in the first week in May. But the week after the annual meeting was my wedding. And I don't know what I was thinking doing all of this at one time. I just chaired our district conference, I spoke at another conference, and I had the annual meeting, then I had my wedding, and then we've had all this other stuff. So I have not changed this to 3 new recipients for this year. Plus, I don't quite understand what they do yet. I'm just gonna be honest. But I've been talking about these 3 people for a year, and I kind of understand what their research is about. So I'm gonna use them as my example today. But last year, and again, well, so in 2022, we gave away $850,000 in grants. These are seed grants. Our researchers tell us that this money helps them to get the data that they need to then turn around and apply for much larger grants from the NIH, from the federal government, from big pharma, people like that. So this year, we gave away another $800,000 to 3 recipients. And so one of the things that I created this past year was a monthly series on Zoom called Lunch and Learn, where we invite one of our previous researchers to join us live, give a presentation on the state of Alzheimer's, and then answer questions afterwards. It's been very effective because what I believe is that the one thing that you as Rotarians want and deserve more than anything else is, where's my money going? What are you doing with it? And this is an opportunity for you to hear directly from those researchers. So we renamed it Lunch a la carte. And it's held once a month. You can attend, you can invite non-Rotarians to join us as well. The schedule is on our website and also in the DAC TV calendar. So I hope that you'll consider joining us for parts of those as well. But let me tell you briefly about these 3 guys. And I do want to use my notes from time to time because I want to make sure I don't mess them up. But on the far left are Drs. Kim and Dr. Quinty, and they are from Harvard. They were our top research recipients in 2022. And they got $300,000. They're looking at using already approved anti-malarial drugs as a potential treatment for Alzheimer's. Now, if you think about it, there is an Alzheimer's drug that was recently approved by the FDA, but it's nearing $30,000 a dose of treatment. Who can afford it, right? It's ridiculous when you think about it. So what is an alternative is to look at other meds that are already approved by the FDA, but repurposing them and using them for different illnesses. And we see that happen all the time, right? So they're looking at some anti-malarial drugs. And they actually had a breakthrough in methodology several years ago. They call it cell culture. They don't test on mice. They create human neurons in a petri dish. And they test those. And they say, mice are great, but mice are not humans. And so they've created something that is identical to a human neuron that they're able to test. And so what they're doing is really unique and interesting. But to show you how different our researchers are, the gentleman on the far right, Dr. Peter Tessier from Michigan, he also got $300,000 last year. And he's looking at the delivery methods of the drugs to treat Alzheimer's. So he uses something called shuttles. Are the drugs getting through the blood-brain barrier in the most effective way? The BBB, the blood-brain barrier. And so while one group is looking at actual drugs, he's looking at the delivery methods. Is it really getting there in the most effective way to find a cure or treatment or prevention? And then the third gentleman, the one on the left, is Dr. Gerald Chun from California, and he received $250,000 last year. And so while one is looking at the drugs, one is looking at the delivery methods, he's looking at the origination of the disease. He's trying to figure out, where does it come from? And he has this theory that he's testing, that there are remnants of previous viral infections roaming around in our body. You can use COVID as an example, or any other viral infection that's out there, because we know that there are tons of them. You have the flu, right? Is there part of it that remains in your body and travels around? He uses the description of zip codes. It's almost like they travel from one area of the body to another using coded directions like zip codes. And are those previous viral remnants still in our body something that could cause a disease like Alzheimer's or dementia down the road? So as you can see, they're all looking at very different topics. This year's researchers, again, way over my head. I'm going to have to do a lot of studying to figure out what it is they're working on. But we actually recorded their presentations to us back in May at the annual meeting, and those are on our CART Fund YouTube channel. So if you ever want to watch those, you can go back and watch those. And I wasn't going to tell Kevin this in advance because I wanted to come see y'all in person. But the next time your speaker has to cancel at the last minute, we have all these presentations on our YouTube channel that you can pull up and listen to one of the researchers from CART. So I think that's really impressive. So that's what I want you to think about when you think about the 3 on your diet. When we talk about the 4, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the family test. Because I believe that this is, as we all know, this is what we live, work, and breathe by. This is something that's really important to us. And I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm standing here today asking you to support CART instead of Polio Plus. Let's be clear. Polio remains the #1 funding priority of Rotary International until we finish the job. I keep my pinky painted purple for Polio Plus at all times because it makes people ask me why. And I get an opportunity to explain to them that we are this close to eradicating the disease from the face of the planet. Who doesn't want to be a part of that? But that doesn't mean we can't support multiple organizations. Just like your individual club supports so many worthwhile causes in your community, Rotarians are very generous people. And we can give $10 a month to polio and $5 a month to the CART fund if we want to. And I've said on numerous occasions that I'm never going to be one of those Rotarians that can write a really big check. I wish I could. I'm grateful for people who can. But I give every month to the Rotary Foundation and Polio Plus and to the CART fund because it's the right thing to do, because it's our foundation, because it's our cause. And I travel all over the world and speak, and people always say to me, "But what's your elevator pitch?" You know, if somebody asks you what is it, because I'm always wearing a Rotary pin. I did take my jacket off from Rotary. Most of the time, my pants and my shoes have rhinestones on. There, you know, bling is my Prozac, so I usually have on a lot of bling stuff. But I would tell people, wear your pin every single day. Y'all, I was speaking to a Rotary club in Anchorage, Alaska, and they fine you if you're not wearing your Rotary pin that day. It's incredible. And so about 75% of the room hadn't worn their Rotary pins that day. So when I got up to speak, I said, do me a favor, raise your hand if you're wearing your Rotary pin today. 75% of the room, their hands on it. It was beautiful. And I said, now wait, do me a favor. Keep your hand up if you wear it every day. And their hands started coming down. And I'll ask you the same thing I asked them. Are you only a Rotarian on Friday at lunch? Or are you proud to be a Rotarian every single day? Because you know what that pin says about you? It says that you have a heart for service. It says that you are a leader in your community, that you like to network and fellowship and you want to create lasting change. And that's the thing, when people say, what's your elevator pitch that you share? You don't need an elevator pitch. All you have to do is memorize the Rotary vision statement. It says, together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And that's what we do. We create lasting change. Who doesn't want to be a part of that, right? We should be inviting all of our friends and neighbors and family members to be a part of this amazing organization. So when you think about the 4 on your guide, I want you to think about the 4-way test or the 5-way test, as it is here. That's okay too. Some clubs are going to have to switch this program up, I see. But I want you to think about what it means to be a Rotarian and how proud you are to be a part of an organization that's creating lasting change. So when we look at the 5 on our die, I want you to think about give me 5. You might say, well, okay, here you go, high 5. But there's a lot of ways that you can do that. Maybe it's setting a goal next year, 5% more than your club gave this year for CART. Maybe it's $5 a month as a recurring giver. Maybe it's putting a $5 bill in the CART bucket 1 week instead of a 1. Maybe it's 5 new recurring donors in your club. Whatever the case may be, think about how you can give me 5. Because here's the other thing, is that every year we have a research panel, a scientific review panel that goes through all of the applications for the grants, and they select the recipients. It's not something that I do, trust me, you don't want me reading those. I read them, it doesn't do any good. That's when I take my naps, you know. It's way over my head. I'm a PR person, that's what I do. But every year we ask this review panel, give us some good news that we can take back to our Rotarians. What can we tell people? And every year they tell us the same thing, that the best prevention, treatment, or delay of onset of this disease is a healthy lifestyle. As I sat there and ate my chips and my pork. And I'm gonna eat the rest of it when I get home. I ate half of it, I'll eat the other half later. They tell us that to walk a little more. What is it? Move more, eat less, right? To work your physical body, but also to work your mind as well. So that's why I like to use this example. Wordle. Does anybody in here else do Wordle? Yeah, I love it. Listen, when I first started trying, it's a little word game on your phone. When I first started, I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. But now that I have 300 consecutive days that I haven't messed up, then now I think it's amazing. But little things like that, working your mind every morning. I do it first thing in the morning, I get up, I sit in the bed, I do my Wordle and I do the spelling bee. I do both of those, because they're both free. And I work my brain a little bit more. This morning, I barely got it. I had to go Google the word to see what it meant. I didn't know today's word. But I did get it, but I didn't know. Did you know it? Did you know what it was? But after I got it, I thought, I don't even know what that is. I was just trying letters at the end. But so when you think about 5, think about the different ways that you can give me 5. And then when we talk about the 6 on our diet, I'm gonna leave you with 6 words today, because here's the thing, is I believe that we all have different skills and talents and passions that we bring to the table. The question is, what's missing from the table? And as I said, I'm never gonna be one of those Rotarians that can write a big check. Y'all, I spoke to the Rotary Club of Salisbury in April in your district, and the next week, a donor in that club wrote us a major gift, a major check for the CART fund. And there are people like that everywhere who can do that. I'm not one of them, but I'm grateful for people engaged. But you need a volunteer, I'm your girl. You know, I will be out there doing social media or special events, or you don't want me, you know, writing a strategic plan, but there's gotta be somebody in the club that's really good at that. You gotta have somebody who's good at the legal things, somebody who's good at the balancing the checkbook. I can't balance my own checkbook, and I'm my club's treasurer. You know that you're desperate. I'm going on year 3. They are really desperate. And now I've finally figured it out, they're probably gonna take it away. But we all have different skills and talents and passions that we bring to the table. So think about what's missing from your table, because those are the people that you need to invite. And I believe that who we are is what we do with what we have. Who we are is what we do with what we have. And my advice to you, if you remember nothing else, if you don't remember anything about sparkly shoes or any of the other stuff, is to find your passion and make it your purpose. Because that's what Rotary gives us an opportunity to do. Share your stories on social media. Invite your friends and family. And remember that it's okay to have a crazy idea. There's a quote from Dr. Seuss, if I have it, in the Lorax. It says, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. And that's what we as Rotarians do. We care a whole awful lot. And we do something about it. When we see a need, we create lasting change. So I'm going to leave you with these 6 words. Be a voice, not an echo. It's okay to try something new, something that's never been done before. Just because we've always done it that way doesn't make it the way we have to keep doing. I'm not saying that we should change everything, let's be clear. But it's okay to try something new every once in a while. And maybe it's, you know, ordering lunch in, or maybe it's having a social one week at night instead of at lunch, or maybe it's changing the dress code so you can wear your jeans to Rotary. I mean, would you guys have ever thought that was going to happen 30, 40 years ago, that you were going to be able to wear your jeans and no tie to Rotary, right? I mean, listen, would you have ever thought that I was going to be a governor because women weren't even allowed to be a member of these clubs? Things change, and we have to embrace it. We have to try something new, and it's okay to do that, to just have that person that you can bounce those ideas off of. I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I saw that your club made a gift card yesterday, and I'm grateful and I appreciate that. I thank you for what you do, not just for CART, but for your district, for your incoming governor, because he's going to need your support tremendously. I thank you for what you do for this organization. It makes me proud to be a Rotarian. I thank you for the opportunity to share my story today.
Don't go away, Tiffany.
And y'all can take your die with you if you would like. If you don't, just leave it behind. But if you want to take it, please do.
We want to issue our recyclable bag and
Love it.
our newest area of focus regarding the
Yes, what a
environment.
great idea.
I cannot thank you.
Somebody always takes the purple.
Let's give Tiffany another round of applause.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have one. Tiffany,
Yes, sir.
I just read the paper last week, I believe it was, 5 new drugs for Alzheimer's. Got 2, one from England, one from PIC. And but there were 3 others that were different parts. How much does CART fund those things? Any?
No, none at all. So here's an interesting story. We fund individual researchers at US-based institutions. And so over the years, we funded about 50 different institutions so far. This year, for example, the 3 were from the Washington University in St. Louis, 1 from University of South Florida in Tampa, and the 3rd one was, not coming to me now. So it's not, we don't farm pharmacology and pharmaceutical companies. However, I will say that one of our previous recipients, you may have read about recently, a grant recipient out in California, developed a test that they're using now where they look at your eyes to determine, the propensity for Alzheimer's and to treat it. And she got her initial funding from CART several years back. So we can say that we are very proud to have been part of the early research that she did. Now, it may be that one of our researchers will end up developing a drug. It could happen.
But I just thought, those things don't always happen for a year.
Exactly.
Usually it starts with somebody else.
Absolutely, just like the eye
I
test,
just
yes.
wondered how much, if any of ours, if we could document any of our.
The one with the eye test, which is really good, but then also the guys, Dr. Alan Levy from Emory in Atlanta, he was our very first grant recipient in 1999, and he is the one that came up with the amyloid beta RN blah, 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 something that everybody studies now. And he's the one that first found it, and he was our first researcher. So we do have a lot of ties to research that has helped develop it along the way. Maybe one day we'll be able to say that one of our researchers found the drug or the cure or the intervention. That would be great, wouldn't it?
If you just came up with the idea.
Exactly, that's what we have.
Can you talk a little bit, we talked about this at the call
Uh-huh.
this week, but just a little bit on the rigor that's involved with the reporting back to
Oh.
the group?
Sure,
The guidelines.
absolutely. So the process of the application is rigorous to start with. Usually somewhere between 40 and 50 researchers apply, they fill out an initial interest, and then those are reviewed, and then they narrow it down and they're asked for an RFP, and those are reviewed, those come back usually 14 or 15, and then the review panel reviews those and narrows them down to 5 or 6, or maybe 8, the top ones that they believe deserve a full application. So then those researchers fill out a full application with all this data and information. And then that's reviewed by the review committee. When they pick the top ones based on how much money we have to give away, is what it's based on. But I will add this year we had over $900,000 to give away that we had raised by that date. But they didn't feel like the 4th and 5th place researchers were worthy of that large of amount. So we only gave away 800,000 this year. And I think that speaks volumes about the review committee, that they're not gonna give it away just because we have it. They wanna make sure it's being used as best as possible. So when they get the award, they only get 1/3 of it. They get a small check to start, and then 8 months later, they have to submit a quarterly almost review of what they've done with a financial statement of how the money has been spent. And once we receive that and review it, then they get the next installment. And then that happens again 8 months later. So we're keeping in touch with them all along. They have to do their regular reviews and updates. And then when they are finished, we ask that they provide us with a description that's considered a layperson's description, so that people like me can understand what they did, and that it's something that we can publish. So we put those on our website as well. If you go to partfund.org, it'll say grant research results, and you can see some of their reports. They're still way over my head, let's be honest, but they're at least more than speaking. And so we do try to keep up with that, and we do want something that we can publish there at the end of it. It's a very strict review process and until they finish. And we also let them know that we fully hope that they will stay in touch with CART by being part of the monthly calls that we're doing. You can get, when you have your district conference, you can get one of the researchers to come and speak at a district conference and let you hear from them, because I think hearing me is, one thing, it's great, let's be honest, no, I'm just kidding. It's great, but it's better to hear from a researcher and find out specifically what they're doing. So they're very active and involved, and we're excited about it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was so impressed with the stewardship.
Yeah,
That's involved.
it's important.
It is important.
How do you come up with that committee that does the review? I mean,
Sure.
It's not just the normal Rotary Club.
It is not, they're not Rotarians at all, you're correct. They, Dr. Alan Levy, who was our first researcher, has stayed involved with us since 1999. He chairs that committee, and he handpicks researchers from around the country. And there were 3 of them, one of them just passed away recently, and they only have 2 right now. But they also use our Vice President of Grants, who is an MD, a medical doctor. He doesn't vote, he just helps them coordinate all the paperwork and stuff. But there's one, Julie, Julia, I can't think of her last name, but there's two others that they are scientific researchers, and they're both previous grant recipients that he uses, so they know the process, and they are asking us now to start having conversations about our method of doing business, and this is just a conversation that's come up in the last few weeks, is that, you know, to me, to y'all, to me, a $300,000 grant is a huge amount of money. But if they have to go through all of the stewardship that we just talked about to get 300,000, or they can do all that stewardship and get $1 million from NIH, which one are they gonna go apply for? And so we've got to look at, are we still doing the best work with the small amount of money that we have? And I mean, $1 million, $2 million is not a small amount of money, but when one grant from NIH can be, you know, 26 million, obviously it changes the dynamic. And so we're gonna be looking at, and because we've been doing it this way for 20 years, and everybody says, do we have to keep doing it the same way? Do we have to be a voice? You know, we don't have to be an echo, we can be a voice. And so now's the time for us to start looking at, but we're relying on that review panel to direct us. That's not gonna be decisions that me or any of the board members make. Yes, sir.
Tiffany, I got diagnosed about 7 years ago with Alzheimer's.
Oh.
And they told me the thing that's so important to be as active as possible.
Absolutely.
And so I do water aerobics 3 times a week.
Mhm.
I lift weights, not a whole lot, but some, 3 times a week. And I do as much yard work as I possibly
Good for
can.
you.
But the key is the activity.
Mhm.
They said something about it being a slower.
Just like a progression.
Slower process of
Uh-huh.
progress. It's been 7 years,
Wow.
and most people I know can't tell.
No, absolutely not. We're not gonna. It's right. That's what they tell us, you know, healthy, active lifestyle, both your brain and your body. And you know, and as I was kind of complaining, I parked all the way on the other end of the parking lot. I mean, it's less than what, a quarter, it's not even, it's 100 steps maybe. But there was a funeral going on and I didn't want to, you know, interrupt all of that. So I walked, and then I walked around and I thought, man, I walked all the way from the other end. And I thought, so what? I mean, I should be blessed that I can walk, right? I mean, I shouldn't be complaining because I had to walk a little bit. But you're right, that's exactly what we need to all be doing more of. I did my yoga this morning when I got up.
Awesome. Hey Tiffany, we've got one more chore.
Oh,
If you
sure.
don't mind,
Absolutely.
David, you wanna grab the tickets? I actually bought some this week.
Well, we got lucky with Tiffany saying yes, so maybe we'll go.
Okay. 277. Sorry, Kevin. All right.
Awesome.
All right, okay, let's pass the cart buckets up after David puts the money in there. And, stand to do our 5-way test.
All right.
Of all the things you think, say, or do, number 1.
Is it the truth?
Number 2.
Is it fair to all concerned?
Number 3.
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Number 4.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Number 5.
Will it be fun?
Thank you. Bring them back. Bring them back. Get up here. Bye, everybody.
Picture of your hand.